From the Ticats Audio Network, this is Tiger Cats Game Day with Courtney Stephen and Mike Daly.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Tiger Cats Game Day on the Ticats Audio Network. I'm your man, Courtney Stephen, joined as always by my man, Mike Daly, and it is finally here. Week 1 of the 2023 season, which feels like the most anticipated season in recent memory. There's been a lot to talk about all off season. There's been things shaking up. Things have changed. There's new looks, new players. It's a new day, but all the talk is done. And today they get to go out on the field and lay it all on the line. Mike, the Ticats are in Winnipeg on a beautiful Friday evening. What's this game feel like for you? Because I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember a time I was this excited for a season opener. I don't know if it's because the whole hype that's behind the Grey Cup in Hamilton, the hype behind Bo Levi Mitchell coming in, the new look Ticats. I don't know what it is, but I'm excited for this opener because you get to go on the road in Winnipeg. And Court, we have both played there, and we know that opener, that stadium is going to be packed. It's going to be loud. They're going to be screaming and yelling all the profanities at you while they're hanging over top of you. And it is such a good test for this Ticats team to go out there and see what really they have, right? Because you only got to see a little bit of that in preseason. People didn't really play all that much. Now this is that test where they get to go out there against Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who, again, I think in my mind are the favorite in the CFL. And it's going to be such a good test. I'm super excited. And Court, I'm sure you feel the exact same way.
Oh, of course. And like you mentioned, that field, they know how to get loud. It's one of the bigger stadiums in the CFL as far as capacity. And they got that little pseudo roof on it that keeps the noise in there, so it's a great environment to play in. I know that all the boys in black and gold are licking their chops waiting for the kickoff, anticipating the energy of that environment. And you know, it's the time of year where everybody is undefeated, so hopes are high across the league. You've been preaching in training camp about all the things that you can accomplish if you just stick to the plan and if you stay healthy. So I'm excited, and there's a lot of new things in this season that I think are going to actually amplify what we're doing as well. Not just new players on the team to talk about, but also this year the CFL and Pro Football Focus have a new partnership, which is going to give us a chance to dive deeper into some of the stats, some of the analytics, some of the head-to-head player comparisons and positional breakdowns, so we can see really who is the diamond in the rough or who is not getting enough credit as they should. You know, the average CFL fan, we can watch and we can see it feels like this person is consistent. They're doing their thing. But, you know, Pro Football Focus, what they do is they grade each play on over 200 different items. They'll measure different statistics, and then they grade out these players just like you got graded out in school. So you can see on a percentage basis, on a scale from 1 to 100, how well a player played in a game. And so we'll be using that for some fun takes and just making this thing a lot more interesting for all the people who love to nerd out on CFL football. But before we get into the football and the rankings and stuff like that, let's talk about who we're actually going to see on the field tonight and who we're not going to see on the field tonight. So first of all, Mason Bennett missed some time in the preseason. He is back in action. Jagger Davis back in action. Tyler Ternowski, Duke Williams, both back in action. And I think those are 4 names. They're contributors. They're guys who people pay to see. And I think they're going to be difference makers. Having them in the lineup is definitely a lift for the Tiger Cats. Any of those guys stand out to you as names who you would really be happy to hear that they're in the lineup?
Yeah, the one that stands out immediately is Jagger Davis, right? This is no surprise to Ticat fans, seeing him in Hamilton and then in Toronto. Like, he's a game breaker, right? You talk about a guy that has all the tools as a pass rusher, whether it's just being able to make an O-lineman completely miss him when he's trying to get to the quarterback, or whether he wants to run right over the top of them. And actually, a couple times you've seen him cover a little bit, and I know he drops into the zones, and he can do that as well. He is an absolute athlete and an all-time gamer, and it's just incredible to have him back on the Ticats, because he's really there's gonna be a couple games this year, Court, where he is gonna just break the game open. He will win a quarter, 2 quarters by himself, because he's just going to absolutely disrupt that offense. And that's what he does. So it's really, really good to see him back in there, because I think that's what the Ticats are going to really need, is that pass rush to be able to, step up, and especially in this Winnipeg game, get to Zach and make him feel uncomfortable back there.
Absolutely. We're going to talk more about that pass rush and all the different ways that they're going to get to the quarterback, or hope to get to the quarterback. But Jagger Davis, you don't even have to draw a play up for him. He can win his one-on-one battle. He is a threat at all times. Love to see that guy in the lineup. Somebody on the other side of the ball who the Ticats brought in, one of the best offensive linemen in the league, Joel Figueroa, will be a game-time decision. He is going to be protecting the blind side of Bo Levi Mitchell on that left tackle. An integral part of every offense is that tackle on the quarterback's blind side, because if you don't protect the quarterback from those big hits, then a lot of stuff goes downhill really quickly. So we'll be anxious to see if Big Fig is actually suited up and how much he does play. I think he will be a huge addition to this offensive line, which already includes a lot of great players. There are a few folks who will not be suiting up in this one. Dylan Wynn, Anthony Johnson, both on the 6-game injured list. But it's almost crazy to say this defensive line is so stacked that they almost can afford to let Dylan Wynn stay on the 6th game for as long as he needs to make sure he's 100% when he comes back. I don't feel like the need to rush Dylan Wynn back when you've got the likes of Sales, Malik Carney, Jagger Davis, and then Ted Laurent and Mason Bennett coming off the bench, Kabongo. I mean, they are stacked on the D-line. So Dylan Wynn is probably not sweating. Although he wants to be in there, he's probably not feeling very anxious that he is missing out on week 1. What do you think?
Yeah, with the addition of Casey Sales, that is incredible. When you talk about the Pro Football Focus, he's at the top of every single D lineman. Always. Every single game he is. He's just an absolute game breaker. And the cool thing is that once Dylan Wynn comes back, Dylan Wynn is as effective, if not more effective. So now when you look at this D-line, you're right, it's scary for other teams. And that's what you need in the CFL, right? For a league that passes as much as they do, and that all the wins and the losses rest a lot on that quarterback's shoulders, to be able to get to that quarterback and knock him down on the ground is huge, right? And then to flip over to the other side with Joel Figueroa, I mean, bringing him in is massive, right? Because if we remember last year, there was almost like a Rolodex of names that were rolling through that tackle spot, right? So now having somebody like that in there that's a veteran that knows what he's doing, that is the league's best, I would say, at tackle, that's going to be huge. What I am curious about, Court, and I'm not sure if you picked up on this, but for Joel Figueroa to be a game-time decision and then to only dress one backup O-lineman, that makes my hands sweat a little bit. I'm not sure about you, but if something happens, Joel Figueroa and Kyle Saxon steps in, finding those O-linemen, I mean, it's the first game of the year. I know guys are ready to go and stuff, but, I mean, they haven't been through a whole 60, 70 plays, so that's something I'm going to keep my eye on throughout this game.
Absolutely. And to contrast it, they've got 8 on the D-line. And I think one of the main reasons is because those D-line guys, they can play a little special teams for you. There's not too much outside of the field goal that the offensive linemen will do for you. And even on some of the longer field goals, the offensive linemen don't even take those. So it'll be interesting to see. And I think the health of this team will be a common theme that we'll revisit while it's going well. We're still going to probably talk about it because we know how important it is. But let's look at the opponent for a second. Winston Rose, he's not going to be in the game, but this Winnipeg team is returning a ton of starters. 19 out of 24 guys were starters on this team last year, and last year they were great. They ran the table for a long time. They won almost all of their games at home. Shoot, they almost won all of their games on the road when you really think about it. This team was tough to beat. And when you have that continuity of bring 19 guys, like that's a lot. And you got to think the guys that they don't have, we took a couple of them, right? So it's really speaks to the credit of what they've built there, and being able to keep those guys together is also something that speaks to the culture they've built in Winnipeg. It's a great team, and you want a great challenge. So early on in this season, they will be testing the Ticats. You got Adam Bighill back there. He's one of the ones who's done this for many, many, many years, and I think Willie Jefferson, Jackson Jeffcoat, like you go down the line, Who is not a threat on that defense is almost a question. Who is right. Who is Bo Levi going to attack on that defense?
Yeah, and I think, bringing the 19 starters back, that's massive, right? It is very tough to compete with a team that has the building blocks in place already, right? It's not just this 1 month training camp that they've had to put something together. It's last year and the year before, because they've had all this continuity together. I think what is going to be a key for Winnipeg's offense is to see how Brady Oliveira is going to then take this next step, whether it is that next step or whether it's just kind of the same kind of year. I think with him having that one extra year under his belt and starting, I think that's going to be kind of a focus, because anybody that's seen Winnipeg play knows they want to establish a run. Yes, Zach has been playing very, very well, but they always do that with establishing the run. So I think that's where you have to look at this matchup this week. Is the Ticats are very, very good at defending the run, and I would say added more pieces like we were talking about on the defensive line that are going to help solidify that run defense as well, right? So I think that's really where you're going to look for this game, for that kind of head-to-head battle, is who's going to be able to establish the run game better. Is Winnipeg's offense really going to be able to run it down their throat, or is Ticats going to do what they do and step in there and stop the run?
Yeah, containing Winnipeg's run game will be a major point of emphasis for Mark Washington's defense. Brady Oliveira, as you mentioned, 25 explosive runs in 2022, 39 missed tackles forced. This guy had 44 rushing first downs. So he gets it done. He falls forward, but that'll be a great test. And, we're kind of burying the lead here. We're talking about the run game. We're talking about the defense. But this really is going to be a clash of two of the CFL's premier veteran quarterbacks, guys who have won multiple Grey Cups, guys who have been playing for over 10 years each. I believe this is Zach's 12th season. This is Bo Levi's 11th season. 2022 might have been Zach's best year of his career. So for a guy who's been playing this long, it almost seems like he's just hitting his stride right now. And with over 300 completions, over 4,100 yards last year, 37 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. He graded out second highest in the CFL among all quarterbacks with a 90.1 passing grade. This guy has escapability. He can create things where no things exist. And I think that is what you see when you look at that offense and you notice guys like Nick Dembski and Dalton Schoen, who was the CFL's most outstanding rookie last year. They shine because they know all I got to do is keep working. If I keep working, Zach's back there keeping the play alive. And if I can just get a foot, if I can get a step, Zach gives you a chance. And that's what's dangerous. And I think when fans are watching this game, the difference between how Zach plays and how Bo plays will be really interesting to watch. Zach, a quarterback who's going to be all over the backfield, scrambling around, maybe not even to run the ball, but scrambling to just change the launch point and continue and extend plays. Bo, a quarterback who's much more of a pocket presence guy. He can move, but he's more of, I'm just going to sidestep you and I'm going to launch the ball down the field, give my receivers an opportunity to catch the ball. Throws one of the most catchable balls in the league. He's going to put it on the money. I'm really excited to watch that head-to-head battle between the two wily veterans. How would you compare these two quarterbacks and what they're bringing to the game?
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly right. I think Zach, when you look at, if you want to put a name to it, right? Zach is that improv quarterback, right? They'll have plays drawn up, and Winnipeg does a really good job on their offense at, we call it smoke and mirrors, right? So essentially it's a simple run play or it's a simple pass play, but they get to it in such a unique way that you don't see in the CFL amongst the other teams. So as a defender, it's just kind of like, wait, what am I really looking at? Oh, it's just a regular run downhill, right? But for those 2 seconds, you're going, what's really going on here? So Winnipeg does a good job with that, but it helps Zach improv because then the defense is kind of that half step behind and he's able to make one of those plays where he gets out of the pocket. Bo, on the other hand, is one of these players where when he has an opportunity to step on your throat with a throw and get that thing downfield and take a shot at that end zone, he will do it. And he is not scared at all to do it, right? And that's what made him so good for so long, because this game is built off explosive pass plays, explosive run plays. And Bo Levi is one of the best at doing that. As soon as he sees that, okay, you know what, I think I got this, I'm going to give my receiver a chance, and he's going to launch that thing downfield. He's going to make the smart plays for sure, but he is definitely taking that opportunity to launch that thing downfield when he has a chance. I think when you look at this game too, and a wild card, because Court, I know how you feel about this guy, and I don't ever want to overlook him, but James Butler is this wild card, right? We're talking about all these different players, Duke Williams, Tim White coming in, right? All these different new guys, that how well the defense is going to do. When you turn on film from BC with James Butler last year, he could make somebody miss in a phone booth, right? Now think about that if you haven't heard that before, right? He is making people miss in a phone booth, whether it's running the ball or it's catching the ball. He's the wild card that I just think more people than not are overlooking, and he is really going to make a difference, I think, for this Ticats offense.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And we've spoken about it in the past, and I think it'll be a theme we continue to look at, is just how does this team continue drives? Because you can make big plays now and then, but you will live and die by the big play if you're not able to string drives together and convert the little ones. You have to be able to get the 6 yards on second and medium. You have to be able to get the 4 yards on second and short. You have to be able to do all of those things. And I mean, James Butler helps you do that. He's a huge threat in the pass game. So whether that's screens, whether that's checkdowns, or whether that's designed throws to the outside where, they're just swinging it out to him and giving him kind of like a run play on the outside with just a different way of delivering him the ball, he can create his own play out of no play. One-on-one, I really give him the advantage on any defender in the open field. Power, speed, does it all. And I think this offensive line will love that too, because when your running back is a threat to leak out, that makes the defensive ends, especially when you're in a man coverage, the defensive end might have to hesitate, because when the pressure is on, sometimes a defensive end's assignment is to take the back to the flat right now, right? And if the back has to go to the flat right now, that defensive end is now peeling off, and the offensive lineman can double in with that guard. That tackle can come down with that guard and crush somebody. So I think just having the defense think about that extra dimension of this running back, I don't know, he could be staying in, he could be leaking out, and if he does leak out, I want to get there quick, because the more space there is, the more dangerous he's going to be and the harder that tackle is going to be. You're right, it's a great dimension to add, and it's just going to be another exciting thing to watch. Going into Winnipeg with this team, I think the Ticats, one of two teams to win in Winnipeg last year. There's a lot made about trends in the CFL. There was the whole trend about the Ticats struggling in Calgary. They broke that. There was a trend about them having issues in Montreal, and there's trends of them winning at home for a long time. How much credence do you give to trends from last year, or how well a team was doing last year or historically, and how much do you think that's more just people in the media making stuff up, and the team is really just looking at this as the next game, everything is 0-0 and none of that matters?
Yeah, I think when, if you look at it from a player's perspective or even a coach's perspective, the trends are just a media thing, right? It's a whole new year. Every single year in training camp, Corey, it's talking about one goal, right? And no matter what happened last year, it's all reset and everything is new, especially when you look in this locker room of the Ticats, and it is significantly different, right? Winnipeg's going to look in the locker room and say, well, this looks pretty familiar, right? But the Ticats, in their mind, it's like, no, all the trends are out the window. We don't really care. You know what I mean? We know Winnipeg's a good team because they have all these guys back, and we're familiar with the Willie Jeffersons, Jackson Jeffcoats, the Zach Laros. We're familiar with that, right? But I don't think any of those trends really matter, and nor do any of the players or coaches care, right? Like, somebody could put that up or bring it up. Like, Winnipeg seems to start the year faster than the Ticats. And yeah, last year, sure. Not this year, right? And that's what's going to be getting said in that locker room. So yeah, the trends are just the trends. I think the only trend from last year that will carry over maybe in some of the coaches' minds is that turnover ratio from the previous season. And not necessarily in the trend like, okay, we need to do things way different, because it's a new offense, it's a new defense when you look at it, right? I think what it is, it's like, okay, what did we do last year that we can fix systematically to stop these turnovers, right? And what that is, you're not really sure. Not really sure at this point if it's going to look like a new offense, new defense, whatever it is. But I think that's the only one that's kind of maybe in the back of a few people's minds.
Yeah, and for those who aren't watching the stats very closely, last year Winnipeg finished second in the CFL with plus 14 in the turnover differential, while the Ticats finished ninth in the CFL, ninth out of nine with a negative 22 turnover ratio. And there's things that's been put in place to change that, right? Getting pressure up front with your D line, it causes the quarterback to throw more errant throws, and it gives guys like Richard Leonard, who's going into his 6th year, I think he's the best cover guy in this secondary, and I think he'll need to have a big year. I think some of those pass breakups are going to need to turn into interceptions, which he's shown he's got a nose for the ball. He's going to be around it, and he's going to get his hands on it. Going from being a guy who was, one of many that had some chemistry, he'd played in this backfield for a long time. Now he's the leader. He's the 6-year veteran. He's the guy who people are going to be looking to see what the tempo is. I think, that D-line causing pressure and giving Richard Leonard a chance to get his hands on some interceptions. When he makes picks, man, that turns the game. He got 2 when they went out in Calgary and won and turned that quote-unquote trend around. So I think that'll be significant. I think another thing that could contribute to the turnover differential is having Simone Lawrence back at full strength, at full capacity, a guy who's about half a season, 65 tackles away from moving into 10th all-time in CFL history, currently 13th with 658 tackles. This guy gets to the ball, and the thing that I think separates Simone from a lot of other linebackers in the league is that it's not just the tackles. Like, he gets a lot of those, but he drops in coverage, he sniffs out the screens, he gets his hands on fumbles, he sacks the quarterback, he gets tip balls, and he just kind of makes plays when he has a chance to be out there. Last year, sidelined with some injury troubles, to have him at full strength, I think that makes a humongous difference. And maybe it doesn't show up in the first quarter or the first half, but the longer you leave 21 on the field, the greater the probability that you're going to witness something amazing. So I think, those couple guys on the defense, they go a long way in helping the positive side of the turnover ratio. Mm-hmm. And then having, your Brandon Revenbergs and your David Beards of the offensive line. I think those guys, 2 of the best offensive linemen in the league, I think they give your quarterback a little bit of confidence to stand in there and deliver catchable, smart throws on time so that there's less of those, quarterback fumbles on a sprint out, or less of those drop balls that turn into a interception. Some of those might happen, but I think there'll be less of them when you're not playing from a place of desperation.
Yeah, absolutely. And less of them when it's, like you said, an experienced quarterback like Bo Levi, right? Like I said, he likes to go downtown when he can, but he's also experienced enough to say, oh, I don't have that. Here you go, James Butler, right? Here you go, Tim White. Little check downs, the 3-yard plays that make one person miss. Next thing you know, it's 6, 7, 8 yards. That's what wins you games, right? Deciding to make those decisions. And that's really where that experience comes in. And I think, what Ticat fans are really looking for Bo Levi Mitchell to be able to do, right, is, yes, those downtown throws, but also be smart with the ball, right, which helps, again, with that turnover ratio for sure.
Hey, this is one thing that I love about the Pro Football Focus. Brandon Revenberg gets a lot of credit for being a tenacious run blocker, getting downhill, bullying people, opening up lanes. But he only is allowed 18 pressures in 622 pass blocking plays. That's 2.9% of plays where he's allowing his person to pressure the quarterback. Not necessarily sack, but just pressure the quarterback. And he graded out first in the CFL in pass blocking grade with 77.9. So he really is, in my mind, the best offensive lineman in the CFL. And I think we need to just give this man his flowers.
And this is what I'm so excited for with this Pro Football Focus, because the first two people that should be the first two groups of people that should be most excited are number 2, the DBs, because you just don't really know. You know what I mean? A guy could knock down every single pass, not get many picks, but people just aren't throwing his way. He'll grade out, and everyone will look, oh my gosh, this guy's unbelievable. And then the first most excited group has to be the O-lineman. Right?
Offensive linemen don't get stats.
Because let's get real. Everybody that watches football, hey, me included while I played, Court, I have no idea what's going on that offensive line. I know how they're blocking and doing that. I don't know if somebody's really doing that well or not. So when you team up with this Pro Football Focus, somebody that's looking at stuff like that, now Ticats fans have somewhere to go and be like, Brandon Revenberg is the best offensive lineman in the league because of these reasons. I think the O-line group should all be high-fiving that Pro Football Focus is coming in to help out.
Totally. And I mean, the grading system, I mean, at a glance, I'll give it to you. More or less, they have an army of people who watch the film, and on any given play, if you just kind of do your job and it's normal, you're going to get just a 0. Call it a push. It's not a plus, it's not a negative, it's just a 0. If you do something good, then you get a positive number. It can be half a point, 1 point, 1.5, or 2 for something that is just like outstanding, one-handed grab in the championship game, tiptoe in the sideline. Or you can get negatives for something that's bad, missed tackles, drop big plays, giving up a sack fumble for a touchdown in half-point increments, -0.5, -1, -1.5, -2. And they grade every play on that scale, and at the end of the game, you see where you land. And I mean, if you want to get the full details of it, you can go to pff.com/grades and get a little bit more understanding of how they come to these grades. And I think it just makes it more fun as a fan. Like the same reason some people play fantasy, some people like sports betting, other people like the deep analytics. It just gives you a more fun to track along the game and more trash to talk ultimately, because that's what this is about, So speaking about talking trash, let's look at some matchups in this game, or somebody you would want to ISO cam. Who would you want to watch, or what matchup would you want to watch in this game tonight?
Yeah, I think, the first one is if Joel Figueroa is a go, him versus that Willie Jefferson, Jackson Jeffcoat combo. Right, I think the cool thing to see is when you get an offensive lineman of his skill, you want to see it on display right away, right? And what a way to do it with Willie Jefferson and Jackson Jeffcoat, right? Like those are the first two guys that you want to see. Okay, can he hold up? Is he going to do well? And he's faced them a bunch of times, so it's not going to be a surprise to him. But I think that's my very first matchup because, like you said, Bo Levi is in here to make this offense a great offense, so much better for the Ticats, and it's going to start with that offensive line to make him feel comfortable, not getting those hurries, not getting them, trying to throw out of a little foxhole, right, because everybody's collapsed in on him. I think that's kind of my very first look, especially early on in the season. Hey, how are guys holding up? How are they communicating together, especially against this D-line? I think that's my first matchup. How about yourself?
Man, I'd be lying to you if I'm not looking at the quarterback battle here. You got Bo, 117 career starts, 90 wins, 25 losses, 2 ties. He's got the highest winning percentage of any CFL quarterback in history. I mean, the guy came here to win, and quite honestly, I got the most faith in him. I've seen this. I've been on the same team with this guy on the sideline. Pressure situations, doesn't flinch. He's really what you want in a quarterback. But all of the history and all the things that he's done in the past, he'll be the first to tell you it doesn't really matter. What matters is what happens in the last game that you played. What have you done for me lately? And, you know, he's got a great challenge tonight going up against what could be considered the hottest quarterback in the CFL as of late. So it's going to be, you know, a clash of titans, really. And I'm excited for every little bit of it. And part of that, an ISO cam I'm gonna put on a certain player is Lawrence Woods III, which I think he has a chance to be an X factor in this one. He return specialist, that's where he cut his teeth in the CFL, but this year he's moved into that field corner spot. He played outstanding in the preseason. You know, just in talking to him off the field, he's put a lot of focus into his game and just taking himself to that next level, so he's prepared to contribute in a more well-rounded way in two phases of the game and not just one. And so I'm excited to see what he does. I think given the right opportunities, he can break a game open and now get an interception that's just like a punt return sometimes. And if you could score on defense, man, it's tough when the other team scores on defense. So I'm going to be looking at Lawrence Woods III, and I'm going to be watching Bo versus Zach. But other than that, I think, you know, the fans are ready. The fans know there's no more talking. There's no more practice. It's game time. It's the time for these folks to go out there and show us what they've been working on all off season, all the sprints they've been doing, all the weights they've been lifting, all the training camp meetings. It's time to let it all hang out. And tonight in Winnipeg at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, that's exactly what they're going to do. The black and gold Ticats are going to take on those Blue Bombers. And this is week 1. If you can't be there because you don't live in Manitoba, then you know what to do. You tune in to listen.ticats.ca and hear your boy RJ and Luke with the call live. Of course, Andy and Bubba, they've got you pre, they've got you post. And if you like what you hear, make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, or go onto YouTube and hit that subscribe button, because we've got video and you can come see our beautiful faces every week getting you ready for game day. So for Mike Daly, my name is Courtney Stephen, and we hope you have a great game day. Peace.
It's game day and you're ready. So are we. Let us know your thoughts. Email us at gameday@ticats.ca. Courtney Stephen and Mike Daly are here every game day with their insights into today's game. Subscribe to the Ticats Audio Network on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.